Welcome, lover. I'm the Naughtie Scribe, author, businesswoman, and your host for the next hour. This live stream is dedicated to love, sex, acceptance, and understanding the lifestyle and ultimate sensuality. Trust me, lover, the knowledge I drop will be straight, no chaser. So sit back and prepare yourself. It's about to get naughty.
Welcome, lovers. You've joined the Nyce and Naughtie Hour. I'm your hostess, the Naughtie Scribe. Now, I already know that y'all a little irked with me because I've been absent for about a month. But some of you who've been following me on Facebook, thank you, a lot of you have seen the pictures and know what the hell was going on. But this kind of ties into the show's theme, which is stop complaining. You played a part in this too. Your choices, your consequences. Nobody's going to have your regrets. No one's going to, a lot of people are going to try to claim your glory, but only you're going to take care of your regrets. So before I get started, I want you to see what a sister's been working with. Can I get home pick 2 up, please? This is not a condemned building. This is my bathroom, what I was living with about 5 weeks ago. Can we get home pick 1? And that, lovers, is my kitchen. So when I tell you that my home had to be partially gutted due to water damage from metal pipes in my house, there's your proof. And those of you who've been following me on Facebook have seen the beginning and now have seen the end. We're going to show those in a little bit. But I show those to you for 2 reasons. One, so you understand when a sister says she was using a homemade porta potty and getting ready for work with a gallon of store-bought water and a mixing bowl every day, that's what a bitch was doing. When I tell you I was living out of my deep freezer and my favorite Chinese restaurant, which is not so favorite anymore because I've been eating from it too damn much, let me tell you something. As much as I love it, wings and fried rice only get you but so far. Okay, and love my Ben's chili bowl, but damn, I don't want another half smoke for a minute. Okay, but that's how a sister was living because you couldn't cook, couldn't do dishes, couldn't flush, couldn't wash your ass. Okay, not the way I normally like to do it because I had no kitchen, I had no bathroom. What happened? Unbeknownst to me, I had metal pipes in my house. Well, I knew about the metal pipes, but unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that the metal pipes in my house had started to rot and what they call not leaking but seepage. And because it had gone on for a number of years before it became visible to the naked eye, my insurance company told me that it was considered an exclusion from my policy and they did not cover a bitch. So fuck the good hands. You know who I'm talking about. Well, that's where this whole thing ties into, because based on some choices I made 2 years ago and a year ago, I had to deal with the consequences 3-4 weeks ago. Meaning a sister came up short and had to do what she had to do to make sure that the right people were paid to bring me. And now can we get picks? I think it's home picks 3 through 6. Yeah. To get my brand new bathroom and brand new modernized kitchen. Because yes, if I'm going to be shelling out all that damn money, I want a dishwasher, I want an ice maker, I want a washer and dryer. So this is my brand new kitchen that it took me 4 weeks and a lot of suffering and willing and dealing to get. Now, why does this make a difference except it was amusing as hell to see those pictures? 2 reasons. 2 years ago, I was in a car accident. Young lady on her phone ran into the back of me while I was stopped at a red light, shoved my car into the car in front of me. His car got a little damage. Her car got a little damage. My car got totaled. And guess what? You got it. My car was the only one that had been fucking paid off. So 2 years ago, I got a nice hunk of change. Didn't get all that I thought I should have got, but I did get a decent amount after the lawyer took his cut and everybody else. I had a choice between getting the car of my dreams, fully loaded, leather seats, the whole 9, or I could get a reasonably nice used car with not all the perks that I would have liked, but I would have been able to save some money. I'm a I got a good job. I make a decent salary. I figured, fuck it. Put a big deposit on my new car and ride out with what I wanted to ride out with. And I did, and I don't regret having my car. However, fast forward one more year. Well, I came into a little bit of money. Services that I normally enjoy, that I pay on a monthly basis. I said, fuck it. I got a couple of grand. Yes, I said it. A couple of grand sitting in my account ain't doing shit. Should have put it here, should have put it there. What the hell? I'll go ahead and pay off a year's worth of the service that I like. Didn't have to. I was never late, monthly. But I said, what the hell? I'll do it, throw it away. Okay, so I spent that money. Now, fast forward one more time to about 4 weeks ago, mid-May, when part of my kitchen ceiling falls down. We hear water leaking underneath the kitchen sink, but we can't find it. Calling a plumber who starts tearing up the wall. Not only does he find a leak, he finds wood rot. So much so that they have to, as you saw, gut my entire kitchen and literally have to rebuild just the support structures before they could even start working on it. As they're working on my kitchen, guess what starts to leak right in the middle of my brand new subfloor that they just put down? Yes, lovers, the bathroom. We go upstairs, they pull out some more wall, and I can physically see rusted, looks like pepper, rust-colored pepper all over certain pipes. And when the water's on, they weep, pretty much like I was at that time. They could not finish the work on the kitchen that they had started because it turned out the bathroom was worse than the kitchen. Now, mind you, if I had known, again, if I had a X-ray vision or if I had a crystal ball, I would have known that the bathroom needed work urgently and the kitchen needed it desperately, but the bathroom would have been first. Instead, it was the opposite. And now, as it turned out, I had to have both work done at the same fucking time. Why does it make a difference? It makes a difference for this reason. I chose to get the car of my dreams with all, and I do mean dreams. I had two favorite cars I wanted, and I ended up with one that got totaled. The second one, we're still riding, so bitch is doing good. And trust me, when it's cold, I enjoy those heated leather seats. But I got the car of my dreams, and I am paying a nice car note for that, which I will have paid off in 3 years. However, the money I could have saved if I had just gotten a nice car and not the car would have come in handy 4 weeks ago. Last year, when I put down a couple of $1,000s on a service that I really like, because I had a little extra money left and I really wasn't doing anything with it, and I figured, what the hell, might as well just pay for a whole year of it instead of paying it on a monthly basis. And it was a little cheaper, but still, it was a big chunk of change to put down at one time. That was money I damn sure could have used 4 weeks ago. Those were choices that I made. The consequence was that when I went to my credit union, because my insurance company wouldn't cover me, when I went to my credit union to get a loan, if you ever want a real wake-up call, go to your favorite financial institute, one that never has turned you down, one that has always loaned you money, even a car, enough to get a car. The first time I went to them for a car loan, never ever had an issue. Asked for big money, never ever have an issue, always paid it off, never missed a payment on time. Go to them when you desperately need it, not when you want it. But in my situation, where you desperately needed to have the work done, or you really could have had your house condemned and considered unsafe to live in, try going to them then and have them tick off all the things, all the reasons they can't give you money because of the car loan that you have for that nice new car, because of other expenses you took a loan out to supplement your business and to do certain advertisings and things of that nature. Things that have long-term dividends while you have an immediate need now. Listen to them explain why they can't give you all the money you need to get everything done plus a few extras, but say, because you are a good customer, because you've always paid on time, because you have decent credit, we'll give you just under half of the money you need. Trust and believe, lovers, those decisions that I made 2 years ago, 1 year ago, came back to haunt a fluffy bitch. Okay? No bullshit. Because as I sat there and I thought, if only I had, if I should have, woulda, coulda, all that played into it because I am literally sitting in a house where the entire kitchen and the entire bathroom are gutted. There is nothing there but rubble and rusted pipes. And I got to find a way to make this happen. Now, the flip side is when you make good decisions, they pay dividends, such as hypothetically, because I got some people to work for places. Hey, Miss Quatis, speaking of certain places, let's say you like playing arcade games that spit out money on occasion, and let's say you play them often. Hypothetically, maybe a couple of times they paid off pretty nicely. Hypothetically, Quatis, I'm watching you. So hypothetically, you banked a little bit of that money instead of putting it back in those nice little arcade games that spit out money sometimes. But trust me, they take more than they spit out. Okay, you put that aside for a little slush fund. Then you actually did listen to your mama, and every paycheck you put away a little bit of money as your own allowance after you've paid all your bills, and sometimes you spend it, sometimes you don't. And this has gone on for a couple of years. Well, thank you, Mercy, because when an emergency happened and your credit union does give you a little bit of money, but it's short of what you need, you will go through your savings. You will go through your little slush fund. And thank you, Mercy. You pray you got a mama with a Home Depot card that she don't use because she don't have a house anymore that allows you to get some shit on credit. With everything that I've been through, I had a big wake-up call on how even small decisions that I thought were small, that weren't big, weren't catastrophic at the time that I made them, do have consequences. And sometimes it's not the next day. Sometimes it can be exactly what happened to me 2 years down the line, and you're literally in your head going through all the money that you could have held on to, you should have held on to for such an occasion. Flip side of it is you didn't hold on to as much as you should have, but you did hold on to some, and that some made a difference as opposed to not having anything. So again, tonight's show is going to be about consequences and choices. And believe me, again, sometimes we make some of the most fucked up decisions, not when we're desperate, but when we feel secure, when we feel that we're on top of things. We don't always do the things that we should. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in one. Welcome back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you've tuned in to the Nyce and Naughtie Hour. Now, as you know, tonight's show is about stop complaining. You played a part in this too. We're talking about your choices and your consequences, meaning you're the one that's going to have to deal with them. Now, our next story is still part of the what the fuck moment, but I had to get this one in. Can we get that seg pick one? What? No, you're good, baby. Keep it going. The fuck? Okay, so we have Mr. Alan George Matthews, who is 56, who went to a hotel room with Mr. Ennis. Let me make sure I got his name right. Yeah, Mr. Glenn Ennis. In mid North Coastal. Okay, now here's why this makes a difference. Can I get those sec pics? Okay, Mr. Allen. Yeah, Mr. Allen. Well, Mr. Ennis went to Mr. Allen because he years ago suffered a genital injury due to a horse kick. Gentlemen, you know where I'm talking about. So much so that it caused a problem with his left testicle. Mr. Ennis went to the hospital to see a doctor, get diagnosed, and find out how much the surgery was going to cost because, as it turned out, it did need to be removed. Well, and it's very pertinent to the times we're in now, he couldn't afford the surgery. He had no way to pay for it. He decided, because it was causing him so much issues, that he would go to a quote unquote, what do we call it, under the table doctor, meaning somebody who proclaims to have medical training with none of the benefits, like a degree, hospital privileges, surgical wherewithal. I kid you not. You can Google it. It's called Do It Yourself Balls Up. Man arrested after removing another man's left testicle in unauthorized medical procedure. And that, I kid you not, is the news headline. So Mr. Ennis goes to the quote unquote doctor, Mr. Alan George Matthews, who proceeds to remove his left testicle. That was a choice he made. He could not afford the hospital. He could not afford to have, because quote unquote, at that moment, it was still kind of considered an elective surgery. They could treat him with medication, but if he wanted to have it removed and alleviate the pain and the discomforts and things that were happening, it needed to be removed. He couldn't afford that. Mr. Ennis could not afford it. He goes to a back alley doctor, Mr. Matthews, who removes it in a motel, of all places, in a motel room, and removes his left testicle. So, lovers, you know where I'm going with this. In about a week's time, he is literally admitted into the hospital. Why? Because he has an infection from the surgery that the back alley doctor did in a seedy motel room because he could not afford the insurance to pay for the surgery. Now, in a way that sounds really fucked up, but then think about it. It wasn't that long ago that women who did not want to be pregnant did the same thing. They went to back alley doctors, people who were not licensed to perform these procedures. Some women did die because they did not want to carry to term. Fast forward now, and we have someone who's having a testicle removed due to a horse injury who also cannot afford the procedure. And so he goes to, quote unquote, a undercover doctor to get the shit done. And of course, now he's in worse shape because he had to be rushed to a hospital with a very nasty strain of an infection due to the surgery. And now we're also talking about his ability to properly use his reproductive organs because of the surgery done. Now, again, these are the consequences he's paid for the choices he made. The choice, I don't know what his circumstances were financially, but he made a conscious choice to go to this doctor. And on top of which, when the doctor, quote unquote, was charged, it was revealed that Mr. Ennis, the patient, had sought several homemade doctors or home trained doctors on Craigslist. That's how desperate he was to find somebody to remove his left testicle. Now, my boy Jacob back there is making little cringy faces, but here's the thing, guys, I kind of feel for you because I know these girls are very sensitive, and the idea of somebody even grazing them the wrong way at the wrong time of the month is enough to make me pop you in the face. I can't imagine how much pain he must have been in to go to anybody to just say, look, I don't give a fuck if you got a degree or not. Just cut it off. I know how sensitive you guys are about certain areas. For you to be in that kind of situation where you just say, fuck it, I don't care if you got a degree or not, cut this shit off. Damn, that's some scary shit right there. But again, he made the choice. And the consequences are he's in almost as worse shape than when he went in, because now he may not be able to use his mini me, and he's fighting off a deadly infection due to the surgery itself. Again, those are the consequences he paid for his choices. But not all choices, not all consequences, bad ones in particular, are made out of desperation, such as this case. How many times have we known people who make good money, have a good job, and every time we see them, they're going on a vacation, they're going to a casino, they're buying a new car, they're got new bling, whatever. It's like they can't hold on to their money. But hey, they make that kind of dough. They can roll like that. They can live that lifestyle until they don't. Until the stocks they might have been living off of dividends crash, until the company that was making all this money is fined for some shortcuts they took, or worse, have gone out of business, until that person who was rolling like that finds themselves unemployed or underemployed, making nowhere near the money that they were just maybe a couple of months to a year ago. Now that fancy house they bought in a very exclusive area, they can't afford to hold on to. That brand new car, with all the bells and whistles, they can't afford the note, and it's now being repoed. People who you loaned money to help them out of their financial straits don't know your name now, that you could use a loan here or there. Money you blew going to Jamaica, Trinidad, Virgin Islands every other month could have gone into a savings account when you had a meeting with a financial planner that could have carried you for a couple of years until you could find something more suitable. So again, some of the worst decisions we make don't always come when we feel desperate or pressed. They can come when we have a false sense of security, when we think the high times we're living in now are going to ride until we knock the wheels off of it. That's not normally how it happens. And just like I found out, I make a good living. I have a decent job. And when I say decent, I mean it takes care of all of my needs and most of my wants. To me, that qualifies as a damn good job. I have actually, especially now that all this work has been done, I have a damn good home that's going to be paid off in a couple of years. I considered myself in a good point financially in my life until this shit happened, and I realized, when that financial planner came to the job and said you should boost up your 401k, yeah, I didn't think I really needed to do it at that time. And remember when a friend of yours who had the deferred savings plan said, hey, this is a great thing to have. You might want to put a little more money in it. I started one with the bare minimum. Yeah, that bare minimum did help. But again, I now look back at 5 years of some serious savings that I could have really used right about now. Again, I didn't make those decisions when I felt under the gun. I made those decisions because everything was riding nice and I had a good paycheck to look forward to every 2 weeks. So from me to you, this is going to be lesson learned. Consider your choices so you don't have to deal with too many consequences. With that, we're going to go into our next break just a little bit early, and then we're going to come back with getting it in. Welcome back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you've joined the Nyce and Naughty Hour. We're going to jump right into our Getting It In moment. I love that. Okay, so we talked a little bit about myself and not to the extreme he did, Mr. Ennis and quote unquote Dr. Matthews, and the consequences of some of our choices. But we need to also discuss why we make certain choices and how to avoid clearly bad choices. Now, some choices we make, we don't think of them as bad, or let's say we know they're not really great decisions to make, but we don't think they're harmful. So we therefore don't consider them to be all that bad until, of course, the consequences come. The time to pay the piper comes, and then we go back with the woulda, shoulda, coulda, but by then it's too fucking late. So let's talk about saboteurs for one. Saboteurs are those people in our life that always seem to have all the answers, but never seem to have all the benefits. For instance, you might have somebody who always has great financial advice, but they always seem to come to you for money. One doesn't work with the other. So if I have a friend who is always begging me for a couple of dollars, but then wants to tell me about all these good investments he knows about because he happens to clean offices at a particular investment company, I might not want to trust what he says. Is that a good decision to then put my life savings into some stupid company or startup that he recommended because he happened to see a memo while he was cleaning someone's office? Because you have to think about it this way. Those who have the right answers or make the good choices also have the benefit of those choices easily seen. If someone makes a good living giving financial advice, and you see the nice car, and you see the hotel, nice hotel, and you see the information and their name on everything. Are we out? Because I'm not seeing a signal. Okay, I'm sorry. I got a little distracted there. Something was going on inside. But if you see someone who is reaping the benefits of their good decisions, it means that they're making good decisions. I would much rather take advice from somebody who makes their living making those kind of decisions and see that they're living large than somebody who's always hustling B for a couple of dollars trying to explain to me how I should spend my money. You would think that that would be an obvious good choice to make. Don't listen to him. Listen to the one that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. But how many times have we sat back and had friends tell us, well, and some of my friends watching will truly appreciate this one. How many times have we had people come to us and say, well, you know, you don't need to pay that on your taxes, or, you know, if you put this down on your tax form, you can get this deduction, this, that, and the other. You really want that nice deduction. You figure, hey, they've been getting over, they know what they're talking about. So you go ahead and take their advice and you adjust your tax form. Year one goes around, nothing happens. Year two goes around, nothing happens. Years 3, 4 go around, nothing happens. Somewhere around year 6 or 7, you get a nice little love letter from the Office of Tax and Revenue or the IRS saying, hey, look, we did an audit, a random audit of a few accounts, and yours was one of them, and we realized you don't have 7 kids. You don't have a startup business. You're not showing any income outside of your salary. We need to have a talk about your tax return. Now, that buddy of yours who had all this great tax advice and all the little gimmicks you could use to boost your refund, he don't know you. You don't know where he is. And the last thing he said is, hey, it was your choice to follow it. I didn't put a gun to your head. And you know what? He's absolutely fucking right. You followed his advice because you thought you were going to get a gain without any penalty for it. Instead of listening to the tax preparer who you had to pay $165 to tell you, nah, you're going to owe a couple of dollars, but you won't owe as much. Now your ass is sitting there with 5-6 years worth of penalties and interest, plus the money that you got for a refund you should not have had, all because you chose to listen to some idiot who told you he knows more about the tax law and getting around it than the actually people that make a living doing what? Knowing the tax law. Again, it sounds simple enough, but we do this shit all the time. Just like the buddy who works on cars, we know we should take it to a mechanic. We don't want to spend the money to take it to a mechanic, and we damn sure won't spend the money on renting a car. because we had to take our ride to the mechanic. Our buddy, he works on his car. His car always seems to run. We take it to him. He tells you, hey, give me a couple $100, a case of beer. I have it running for you. Okay, you do it. You even tip them because when you get the car back, it sounds beautiful and it's actually running a little better than it did when you first bought it. Until something else comes down on your car and you find out, because now you do have to take it to a mechanic, that the work your buddy did on it fucked up something else in the car because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And now you've gone from paying a couple $100 and a case of beer to a couple of $1,000 because part of your fucking engine needs to be rebuilt, or you might as well just total the damn car and get a new one. But guess what? You're not going to get benefit for that car. You're going to have to come out with a car loan because the work was done by an unlicensed professional. Again, it sounds simple enough, but we do make these bad choices because at the time, we don't look at the long-term consequences. We look at the immediate gain. The immediate gain was you get to save yourself some money and you get your car back on the road. The long-term consequences is you're going to pay through the nose because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing to begin with. Again, some of the choices we make are not out of desperation. They're out of a sense of security. The fact that, hey, look, I'll save myself some money. I make a decent salary. I'm getting over. Sometimes getting over, lovers, really does catch up with you. Now, we talked about some outside saboteurs. What about some inside ones? What about you? Sometimes we make decisions or choices based on how we're feeling at the moment. Somebody does something to us that really pisses us off at work to no end. So much so you got to get out and take a walk because you're going to catch a charge. And because you're in that moment, something comes up that gives you a chance at payback. You hear something that this person did that they shouldn't have done. You blow it up into all kinds of conspiracies and illegalities and everything else because you're so pissed. You want to make sure this person answers for it. And if you can't make them answer for what they did to you because they got over, they're going to damn sure answer for this. That's the choice you make at that time. The next day, you find out that that person didn't actually do what you thought they did, or if they did, it was already sanctioned by another supervisor. So now you're sitting there in someone's office trying to explain why you're causing problems and why you defamed a good and loyal employee. Again, choice you made at a time that you felt justified and secure in your rightness to make that decision had consequences down the road, because had you let yourself cool off and waited the next day before saying anything, you might have found out that the situation wasn't what you thought it was. And you could have saved yourself a lot of grief and a lot of complaint, because now that person who you did have a justified grievance against has now flipped the script, and you're the hostile one. You're the one that's causing them problems. Again, choices we make have consequences. And not all the time are they immediately seen. I know that if I walk against traffic, against a red light on a busy highway, the chances are good I might get hit. So I make a conscious decision to choose not to do that. I'll cross at a light and I'll wait for the light to turn green, where my chances of getting on the other side are good. Now, let's say I'm driving my car and I decide, I need to make this light. And I run through the light just as it turns red. Well, just as it's turning red to me means it's turning green to someone else. At that moment, somebody else who's impatient decides as soon as that light turns green, I'm hitting my gas. What happens? Boom. We make a connection we weren't planning on making. Who's the one at fault? The one who gunned it through a green light, or the one who gunned it through a red light hoping that they would make the light? We already know the answer to that. Your ass for running that red light. It don't matter if it turned red 1 second ago. When it turned yellow, yellow really does mean slow down. It does not mean hit the gas so you can make it. We do it all the time. I'm guilty of having done it myself until I almost had a close call, and trust me, that was enough to wake a bitch up. Okay, it was not worth my new car with my new car note to be hitting another car that actually did have the right of way by a couple of seconds. It don't matter. They had the right of way. We make these decisions all the time without thinking about long-term consequences. We only think about the immediate goal. If I run this light real quick, I'll get through it and get to where I'm going even faster. Yeah, by a whole couple of seconds. That really made a whole lot of sense. Again, we can be our own saboteur. What about our emotions? Sometimes we make bad decisions based on how we're feeling at that moment. And I'm not just talking about anger, I'm talking about happy feelings. We are in la la with someone who is totally not right for us. We see in them what we want to see in them, not who they really are. Our best friend, our mama, our sister, our brother, our gay husband at the job, they all see who he is. They all see who she is. They all tell you out of love who this person is. So it's not like you didn't know. You chose to deal with this person because of the way you were feeling at the time, in spite of all the warning bells that you also had that were being reaffirmed by other people in your life. So what happens when his true colors are shown, when there's no way to get around it, when he's either stolen your money, robbed you blind, beat the crap out of you, left you with a whole lot of his debts, got a bunch of baby mamas banging down your door because he ain't paid child support in God knows how long. Now you're like, oh my God, how could this be happening to me? Why am I being drawn into court for some bullshit I had nothing to do with? Yeah, that would make sense, except he's living in your house, sleeping in your bed. You know, you're making breakfast for him in the morning. You can't say it has nothing to do with me anymore when you made a conscious decision to continue to deal with this person and involve yourself with him to an extent where he could make these claims and you get drawn in. Where I work, it's not even funny how many times we see females, mostly females, who file injured spouse claims saying that, hey, look, I shouldn't have to pay for his baby mama's drama. But in certain cities and states, if you cohabitate long enough, you can file jointly as a married couple. That means that when you file jointly to get that big refund, his bills are now your bills. His responsibilities are your responsibilities. You can't now say, well, no, I don't want to do that. Then you have to file for injured spouse. And sometimes the courts don't allow it. They say, no, when you took him, you should have known what was going on. It ain't our fault you made a bad choice. Again, decisions we make, sometimes when things are riding high and we're feeling good, are not always the best ones to make. Then we have the haters and the cowards in our lives. Now, the haters and the cowards are kind of alike and not. And this is what I mean. The cowards are the people that tell you, don't do this, or I wouldn't have done that. It doesn't make sense to do this. Not because they really give a fuck about what's good for you. It's because they never had the courage to do it themselves. I've had people in my life when I was a young single mother of one at that time, tell me I needed to get another job, not try to buy a house. This house that I've been in for 27 years now and has had major work done to. But I was told then, you need to find yourself a decent efficiency, somewhere low cost. Don't worry about the neighborhood at the time, and work at a good job, maybe to save up some money and so you can afford a better apartment. I took a risk. I took a chance. I went for the house. Don't regret it. But I had people in my life who at that time could not see themselves in a home. So they could not see me in a home either. And for me to succeed would mean that they failed. And that's what the bottom line was for that. And you have people in your life that are like that. People you're related to, people that you love, people who have been friends of yours for years, people that you've known for years, people who you respect. I was told when times were hard, I needed to get a part-time job to pay for this and pay for that. Don't worry about trying to start your own business. 2 businesses later, I have those same people have their hands out saying, well, if you need any help or if I can do anything, I'm looking for a little something on the side. If you can do this for me or if I can do that for you, let me know. Mind you, these are the same people. Had I listened to them, there would have been no side hustle. There would have been no employment power, which was my first business. There would not have been a book. There would not have been a Nyce and Naughtie adult boutique. There would not be the show. If I had listened to the cowards in my life who never took a real risk in their life and couldn't therefore not see me taking one either. Then you just have the out and out haters. Those are the saboteurs we all know about. Those are the ones that tell you not to do things, not because they're concerned that you'll fail, but because they don't ever want to see you succeed. Why the hell would she be spending her money on studio time to do a bullshit show when she should be putting that money in her savings account? Didn't she just have to get her house done? Didn't she just have to pay this bill? Didn't she just have to do that? What fucking sense did that make? Well, let's see. The money that I put into doing this show has paid dividends by giving me exposure, by giving my business exposure, my writing exposure that I would not have had, which in turn, cultivated turns into money. Okay, so one does help the other. It's called branding. But again, you have people in your life that will tell you, don't do that shit, or she got some nerve, or who does she think she is? That bitch ain't Oprah. Okay, never claimed to be, but guess what? I'm the best me that I can be. So again, if I had listened to the haters in my life who pretended to care, a lot of risks and a lot of benefits that I have reaped in my life, I would not have. And there are a lot of you out there, because we talk, especially on my job, we know a lot of haters. We know a lot of individuals that no matter what you do or what you say, no matter what's good going in your life, they're never happy for you. The only time they seem to have any concern is when shit is falling apart in your life. Then, oh, boo, I got your back. Oh, I can't believe you're going through all this shit. Really? Your house, your kitchen, your bathroom gutted? Oh my gosh, what are you going through? Girl, did you know that bitch had her house gutted? All this shit rusted out. You know she can't afford. That's the shit we're talking about. Every last one of us has them in our lives. Career-wise, I was always told, look for a job when you have a job, not when you need one. Why? Because when you need a job, you'll take any job. Sketchy or not, your goal is immediate. Let's put some money in the house. Let's keep a roof over our head, keep food in my baby's mouths. When you look for a job as you have one, you're not under a financial stress. Your choices will be better. You will actually make career decisions that are beneficial to what your end goal is. If your end goal is to get into a particular field, hey Jeremy, hi boo. Hey DJ, yes, I'm back. Gotta give a shout out to my people on Facebook Live. But getting back to careers. So if you make a career choice while you still have the security of a job, you might decide to try a field that you had once been interested in that is now available to you in your area, paying more money. You might decide to jump into a company that is up and coming and you want to get in on the ground floor. You might decide to go for that management position that you were hesitant to try before. When you are desperate for a job, you'll take a clerical job, you'll take a maintenance job, you'll take a lawn job. I cleaned bathrooms for many years while I was getting my shit together. So trust and believe. The choices you make now do have consequences later, and sometimes they're not immediate. By taking that job, maybe working in a clerical office for a law firm that has no promotion potential. You've been there for many years. You've done a lot of great work. Now you're of a certain age and you want to branch into a new field. First thing they ask you is, well, how many years of experience do you have in that field? Maybe none, because you spent most of your time working as a clerical in a law office. I can tell you all kinds of shit about filing legal documents. I can't tell you a damn thing about management analysts, even though most of the skills that they're asking for, I do possess. Maybe I didn't go take a particular training class because I felt it was a bullshit class to take. Now I want to apply for a supervisor's position, and one of the things they're asking me is my experience or education